4 reasons why cheap land can be dangerous in Cameroon. Do you know that the fact that the land is cheap could cause a problem or could mean that there is a problem? In this video, we are going to be looking at 4 major problems that could be the reason why a land is very, very cheap and why it could be also dangerous in Cameroon. Number 1, the land may have no proper title or document history. A land could be too cheap, right? Because there is no proper documentation. It doesn't have a land certificate, doesn't have a chief attestation, doesn't have a site plan, doesn't have a transfer of ownership. And when a land is like that, I've always told our investors that one of the most important things when it comes to land buying process or investing in real estate, that is not on the real estate or on the land itself, is the documents. Documentation and titling is so powerful in real estate that even if the land is good, no matter how sweet it is, if the document is not correct, then the whole or the entire deal is not correct. A man named Dr. Charles Apoki once said that proper documentation prevents argumentation in real estate. I'll say that again. Proper documentation prevents argumentation in real estate. It means that if the documentation is correct, it will prevent arguments at the end or in between or even after the transaction of the deal. Number 2, why cheap land can be dangerous in Cameroon. The second reason, it may be under dispute between family members, community people, or multiple sellers. Omoniles are very, very dangerous. That's why I advise investors not to buy from private individuals. Always make sure you buy from a credible real estate company. All right. The reason why land may be too cheap may be because it's under dispute between family members. In fact, our company bought some plots of land at Bova, right, from a family. So they did the due diligence, and of course the company discovered that the family has two, like the man got married to 2 women, right? The first son came from one of the wives. So the company went to pay allegiance to the first son and gave the money to the first son. And later on, the second son came and said, no, I'm the one that's supposed to take the money and this and that. Later on, they shared the money. But the second son said, oh, the first son from the second wife, that's what I mean, said the money was not enough. He came and put an injunction on the property and they had to go back to him, and they sorted it out. The chief called him, the others called him, and then they gave him the mullahs. They called him and they gave him, he asked how much was to be added. They asked him how much was to be added. He said they gave him the money, and that was it. So you see that now the land was not that cheap like that, but because of these kind of disputes in the family, imagine that the brother and the 2 brothers had serious problems, and then the other brother wants to go and sell the land. Just because he wants to take the money and sell the land and leave, you are seeing that he's going to sell it at a very, very, very cheap price. The third reason why cheap land can be dangerous is because it may be very far from real development. If a land is 3 hours drive from development or from the main city, why won't the land be too or so cheap? Right? That's another reason. And the 4th reason, it may have hidden costs that make it more expensive later. Right? That documentation could be a cost that will make it more expensive later. Still, the family members having problem may be a cost that will make it more expensive later. It could be that the person selling doesn't have the power of attorney or doesn't have the authority to transfer the ownership, the title, and the interest of the land to you, which will make it much more expensive. That's why it's always advisable to get professionals like a real estate consultant, a property lawyer, and a licensed surveyor to help you always go through your real estate transaction, right? Please note this. I wrote this down. I said a good deal is a safe land in a good location that can grow, not the cheapest price. I take it all over again. A good deal is a safe land in a good location that can grow, not the cheapest price. So if a property is in a good location, potential growth location, not cheap, All right, that one is a good deal. Okay, so you go for that. You don't go for the one that's necessarily cheap and that's in location that you cannot understand, that doesn't have good documentation, that has disputes, that's really far and very far from development. If a property is say 30 minutes drive from development or from the heart of the city, and it costs say 50 million francs CFA, and there's another property that's 2 hours or 3 hours drive from the end city and it costs 1 million, please go for the 50 million. All right, because it has proximity to development, and in less than a decade or in a decade or so the place is going to develop. But the place that's 3 hours drive, I bet you even in the next 2 decades it's not going to be fully developed like that. Okay, it might only be on speculations. So I hope you've learned how to avoid cheap lands and get good lands which are good locations and locations that can grow. So if you have any questions concerning acquiring a property, step-by-step guide, all right, you want us to discuss your budget so that we can look for the best and profitable real estate investments for you here in the city of Boya, southwest region of Cameroon. Our numbers are always on the screen. You can call us or send us a message on WhatsApp so that we can discuss your budget. In the meantime, have a nice day and enjoy yourself.